The Ogres may no longer be the pitiful race they once were, but they are still far from the largest or most varied race in the game. What they could really use is 11 new factions with unique campaign mechanics pulled from all other races to create the greatest collection of campaigns in all of Warhammer 3. In unrelated news, the SCM Might of the Maw mod does just that, so let's see what these campaigns are all about. First up we have the Blood Guzzlers, and they are led by Bull Malatans. He has a strong focus on spider units and assesses most of these from his spider farms menu. Here, he can spend spider eggs. These are earned passively each turn and by completing spider hunts, which access from the same menu. They can then be spent on spider and spider adjacent units, which can then instantly be placed in your armies. Each army can only have a certain number of these units, so choose wisely before burning your eggs on units that you can't use. There's also a selection of permanent faction upgrades, as well as some for specific units. The farm can be upgraded similar to Ikit's workshop by completing various objectives, and this unlocks you the later tier upgrades. And the more you use it, the more you get out of it with unique items and units for upgrading your faction and units. Mechanic aside, all spider units in his faction also gain double XP, so you can have some elite and heavily upgraded units in no time. Enemies in his province suffer from reduced movement range, and all lords gain an ability to heal themselves at the cost of damaging an allied spider unit. He can field spider units in his own army for a reduced upkeep, and have more of them with him at once. He has a spider summon, and grants any hero in his army the ability to slow and weaken nearby enemies. Next we have the Feastmaster Tribe, and they are led by Blout Feastmaster. He has access to the new halfling heroes and increases their capacity whilst reducing hero action costs right out the gate. The halflings also allow him to make use of what is essentially Grom's Cauldron. The mechanic works the exact same with you unlocking ingredients over the course of the game and combining them to create meals that provide all kinds of bonuses for your faction. There's some pretty cracked combinations like explosive missiles for Noblars and unbreakable regeneration for monster units. The more recipes you discover, you also gain increasing bonuses for the faction, and you even have the Travelling Hag to buy ingredients, cook for, let her cook, or get a bit of extra golden meat. Lastly, he increases the mass of all units in the faction, making for some beefy charges. Blout has an ability to increase the charge speed and attack of all units in his army, allowing him to coordinate massively devastating army charges. All heroes in his army also gain the Rowdy passive for perfect vigor. Hey, you know what else gives you perfect vigor? Holy energy, baby! Look, I get it. You've probably seen about 1 billion products that look just like Holy because they are everywhere, marketed to gamers like cognitive behavioral therapy to depressed teens. Can I get some therapy? But when most of those brands are full of artificial flavors, colors, and even in some cases lead, Holy is all about those big naturals. We're talking big natural flavors, big natural colors, and even big natural caffeine. That's more big naturals than my guy Withers. I bet you're thinking with all these big naturals there's also going to be a big cost. Wrong. Holy is just 80 pence per serving, coming in far cheaper than anything you can find in a can. There's a bunch of flavors to choose from, starter sets you can try before committing to a single tub, and if you're not that stoked on caffeine, they even have hydration and iced tea. Hydration especially is goated if you do a lot of working out and sweating, as it gets you replenished and recovering much faster. Be sure to check out Holy at the link below. I really cannot recommend them enough. I've tried most of their flavors and enjoyed almost all of them. No matter what you decide to pick up, you can get an extra £5 off using the link in the description or just by using code Colonel5 at checkout. A massive thank you to Holy for their continued partnership with the channel. Another thank you to you for checking out the sponsors and supporting the channel. And now, back to the mods. The Flamegullets are led by Morg Magmaborn, and the faction has access to the Fire Mouth mechanic. This uses a currency called Magma Jugs that are gained post-battle. They can then be spent on a Skull Throne-esque menu that provides all kinds of temporary buffs for the faction. Enacting these effects also increases the rage of the Firemouth meter. Once full, you can choose from 6 sets of unique fire-themed units, and these can then be recruited into your armies for some added heat. Their fire focus also allows them extra hero capacity for firebellies, as well as reduced recruitment cost, and grants all flame spirits an increased chance to be reforged after being killed in battle. However, this allegiance to the flame comes at an added cost of offerings to the Maw, so keep plenty of meat handy. Morg's army leaves the Flamegullet March effect in any region he passes through. This causes reduced movement range and replenishment for hostile armies. He can recruit Firebelly heroes wherever he goes, and comes with an explosive ability for some added damage. Lastly, he has a much larger capacity for magma-touched units in his army than anyone else. Sharktooth are led by Tagog Whalebeater. They steal a few mechanics from the Vampire Coast, such as treasure maps, pirate coves, semi-horde gameplay, and even loyalty. They can also choose to hunt down pirate armies to unlock various pirate units for use in their armies, as well as take part in a good old infamy ladder to get the legendary sea shanty. I'm speeding over this since if you want to know how all this works, go watch my Vampire Coast video, as it's literally the same with the exception of the pirate crew units. These just replace the pieces of 8 from the treasure map menu, so hunt down the Roman pirates for some cool new units. When battling at sea, they gain increased post-battle loot and chance of stealing magical items, and lastly, they're immune to all sea-based attrition. His army can make use of more pirate crew units and earns even more gold when interacting with sea-based encounters. He gains a brief window of ward save when he drops below 50% HP, and his army can use the sea lanes much faster. The tribe of the Shrewd Fulg are led by Shrewd Fulg. Their close relationship with Clan Mulder not only allows trade and increased relations from turn 1, but also access to their very own flesh laboratory. This works the exact same as it does for the Skaven, so if you want to know how it works, then check out my Skaven campaign guide. The only thing it changes are the units you get from emptying the growth vats. Lastly, all heroes have an increased chance of successfully wounding targets, so spam heroes to easily get rid of the enemies. Any Flesh Lab modified units in Shrewd's army gain increased leadership and reduced upkeep, making them even more enticing. He also has abilities to summon a monster into battle and deal poison damage in an area. The Rock Skulls are led by Blog Crushaguts. These guys steal the momentum mechanic from Taurox. Again, if you want details, check the Beastmen guide, but essentially, you get rewards for winning a bunch of battles in a short period of time. The higher the streak, the better the bonuses you can unlock, including resetting the movement range of your army. Although technically it says Taurox's army, so good for him. Alongside this, they can recruit bruiser heroes wherever they go with a few more levels right out the gates. They have awful relations with greenskins, so will make plenty of use of that weapon strength increase when fighting them. And lastly, all characters gain a passive to increase their splash damage and physical resist, the more damage they take in combat. He increases the growth of any mountain settlement he passes through and can recruit units for cheap while he's there. All stone trolls gain increased leadership in the army, and he has an ability allowing him to spot hidden units. The Sabreskin Tribe are led by Jared the Red. They steal beast pens from Rakarth. More details in the Dark Elves guide, but essentially, you collect beasts as you battle and can summon them into your armies. They can also activate the Convocation of Hunters, which allows them to spend varying amounts of gold in exchange for different kinds of beasts being added to the pens. The cooldown of this also varies based on what you pick, so if you pick something expensive, make sure it'll get plenty of value. All armies also gain extra charge bonuses, and all lords gain extra speed and attack whenever their target rouse. In Jared's army, all beasts and monsters are cheaper to recruit and maintain, and gain more leadership, and he can have more of them. The Sons of the Mountain are led by Hrothfrul Icefang. They produce some baseline tusks to make for decent traders from turn 1. All units in their roster are covered in ice, which really means they have a barrier. They also have access to their own version of Gorbad's tactics, despite it not being mentioned at all at faction select. All Yetis in the roster can be recruited faster and replenish their barrier quicker when close to a lord or hero. Hrothfrul's army gains increased barrier, and all greyback heroes gain regeneration. He has an ability to increase the damage and damage reduction of all nearby units that can cause terror. The Thunderguts Tribe are led by Man the Mangler, another mechanic we don't hear about at faction select, and this time it's eyeballs teleporting around the map, challenging various armies for all kinds of rewards. It is a wee bit wacky at the minute, but since it's not listed, it probably means it's not quite ready yet, so give them a minute. They're the raiding specialist tribe, granting them increased income and reducing the growth of their target. They also gain more meat from battling and an increased global recruitment capacity for when you're flying around without a camp. They're immune to trespassing penalties and delay enemy reinforcements in battle, all Ogre Pit Fight units pay reduced upkeep, and the Lord has an area damage ability. The Treehammers are led by Vazgrat the Lucky, another of the diplomatic ogres, granting them easier use of war coordination and improved relations with all factions. They can also use the Underways much safer and recruit more ogre mercenaries from other ogre camps on the map. Over time they gain lucky coins, and these can be flipped to a random buff or debuff for the faction for a few turns. All units in his army are resistant to missiles, and he has an ability to gain a massive heal when at low HP. And lastly, we have the Red Maw, led by Fernadrang. These are the Chaos Warrior Ogres, and as such gain souls from battling. These can then be spent on Gifts of Chaos, just like any other Warriors of Chaos faction. He also has the Eye of the Gods and the Path to Zanbai Jin, and if you haven't heard of that last part, it's probably because it's only available in the Realms of Chaos campaign. And who plays that? The Lord gains extra weapon strength per active war, and they suffer from reduced relations with all ogres and humans. In the Lord's army, all ogre melee infantry and cav gain some increased weapon strength for some ferocious melee clashes, and the Lord has an ability to massively increase defense when at low HP. Now to wrap up talking about these mechanics with a bit of a mod review. Whilst very few of the campaign mechanics are actually brand new, it doesn't take away from the fact that all of these offer some very different playstyles within one race. If you want something super complex, you have the Red Maw and their Warriors of Chaos mechanics. If you instead want something simple, then the Flamegullets give you cool new units and some neat effects without making things too difficult to understand. The sheer variety of mechanics and gameplay styles here is crazy and gives you hours of gameplay within the ogres. Whilst you may be stuck with these same bones, or I suppose meat with camps and so on, the extra bits still make these well worth playing even if you've played with these mechanics before. I've always said that Grom's Cauldron is a mechanic that I would love to see used more, as it adds so much creativity and fun to the campaign, and the ogres are a perfect recipient. It's definitely not a perfect mod, with some mechanics being a little bit buggy or still having tooltips from their original faction, But if you don't let that bother you, there is a massive amount of fun to be had here. If you're an Ogre fan and are bored of the 3 legendary lords in game so far, and let's be honest, that's probably all you're going to get, you absolutely have to give this mod a try. I promise that the mechanics from the other factions come together with the Ogres to make something that is truly a blast to play. Balance-wise, yeah, I'll let you be the judge, but as far as fun is concerned, it's unmissable. As for the units added, I'm afraid you're going to have to wait until next week. Look, I tried to get it all in one video, but there is so much in this mod that it was getting out of hand, and I got to snip this turd off somewhere. However, what I do want to ask you this week is what faction looks the most fun to you? Maybe you want to get cooking as Blout or capture some beasts as Jared? Does this guy really look like a Jared to you? Anyway, let me know who you want to play in the comments below. Like the video if you did, subscribe for more, and if you want another video like this, then check out this one all about the green skins in SFO.